Hey guys, this is Nissa with the Nissa Mystery School, and you're watching Sunday Shenanigans, where I'm here with some of my friends, and today I'm bringing one of my friend, Elizabeth Wolfe. Please introduce yourself, Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Wolfe, and I am an astrologer from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm delighted to be on my friend Nissa's show today. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Now, the story how we met is very astrological as well. Yeah, right? We met
Yes.
May this year at NORWAC, which is Northwest Astrological Conference.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I remember I came there by myself. Just so you know, if you're an astrologer or early in your studies, don't wait and don't be afraid to go to conference. I was afraid, and I think that's kind of just like going to school for the first time, right? How did you feel about attending? That was your first conference as well.
Actually, my first conference was UAC 2018 in Chicago, because that's closer to me. But I'd never been to NORWAC. I'd never been to the Seattle area. But I love traveling by myself. I actually just get such a rush from it. So I was a little nervous, but I was super excited.
Yeah, I have the same. It's so weird. We never talked about it, but I'm actually one of those person who also really revel in traveling alone, because it's just such a, I don't know, such a wanderlust experience. And the freedom, and you can just follow the moment by moment. So I went alone to NORWAC, which is my first astrology conference in Seattle this year. And I remembered Elizabeth was eating a salad by herself in the atrium.
I'm such a loner. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here by myself and eat.
In so many ways, I'm a lot like that as well, right? But at the same time, I was like, it was getting lonely. I was like, oh my God, I should say hello to some people. And second of all, you're eating a salad and I was hungry. So I think that was my pickup lines, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, and you asked me, because I had just gotten my salad from that little Starbucks place, and you would ask me where I got my salad, and I told you and went to go sit down, and then you came back and you were like, hi, can I sit with you? And I was like, at first I was like, oh my God, what, oh, okay, I guess. And then I was really, really glad you sat down. Like, it took about 30 seconds because I was really nervous.
I didn't know that at all. Well, it was nervous for me too, because, I felt like I was seeing faces that has been familiar, from YouTube, from just being a student of astrology, and I felt like everyone already kind of, know each other.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, it's not like they're cliquish, but they're already talking to their friends. So I have the feelings of like, oh, I don't want to interrupt. Like, who am I to barge in? I don't know how to do this. This is super awkward, So,
yes, exactly.
So interestingly enough, I was just telling you earlier how recently my chart got rectified by an emergence of birth records. I was like, oh my God, my angle has been wrong, which explains so many things, like my seventh house, orientations, like how come things are not. Anyways, but, when I met Elizabeth, I was Leo rising, and now I'm Virgo rising and stellium Virgo.
What?
So our synastry and your sun Mercury trines my ascendant. Of course, we're friends.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I mean, my partner is a Virgo. I have some Virgo friends, including you. Like, other earth signs, we just like click so effortlessly, right?
Effortlessly, yeah. So basically, from the salad situation at NORWAC, we just pretty much became like a conference sisters. Like we explore new astrologers together. We introduce people that we just met to each other. So that was, you really made my conference experience such a good experience.
Oh, thank you. Back at you. I felt like, thank you for putting yourself out there and being brave right away to introduce yourself and just open up and be open to making a new friend. Because that's always my hope, but it's hard for me to do sometimes. And I always just kind of assume if I talk to somebody, I'm gonna maybe talk to them once and then not gonna talk to them again.
But and look where we are.
I know, and I love that we live in completely different parts of the country and we're still friends and still talking on a regular basis. And you were right, like we absolutely stuck with each other. Like even if we didn't go to all the same classes or teachings, we always checked in and we had meals together, and it was just, it really made me feel less alone. So thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, so recommendations is go to your nearest astrology conference, which the plan is that we are going back again. So that's going to be our anniversary, Elizabeth.
I know! So romantic.
We'll discuss the details later.
Okay.
And then now there's other conferences that I'm looking at as well. ESAR in Colorado. Oh my God, are you interested? Are you going?
I am. I'm interested. Okay. I'm not sure if I can afford it, but I'm interested.
I know exactly what you mean. Right now, there's so many things, and there's also another, OPA is doing a retreat, Organization of Professional Astrologers, led by Maurice Fernandez, who is, by the way, one of my favorite astrologer. And they're doing a retreat in I Love National Park, and this is in Zion, Utah, and that's happening in April. So, I don't know. Anyways, side topic, I'm having Uranus transits of my life. So I can't even tell you what's going to happen 2 weeks from now.
Right? Yeah, no, so am I. It's right on my midheaven.
Oh my God.
Like literally my midheaven is 5 Taurus. And so it's already gone over it once, and then it's backed up and it's going to go over it again.
Well, for the last time, right? Because I feel, Uranus right now is in retrograde, and it's going to go direct just 2 days before Pluto-Saturn conjunction in January. I mean, come on. Anyways.
I'm so scared.
We should do this more often, by the way.
I know, I love this.
Anyway. So yeah, that's just a little bit of astrology weather that all astrologers are kind of in this impending situation, I'm 20 degree Earth sign ascendant. So this Pluto Saturn is trining, and it's trining my Jupiter, it's trining my Sun Mercury, but it's like, again, I'm still like, what am I doing 2020? Where am I taking this boat that I've built for myself? It's really exhilarating, but oh my God, my poor moon though. My moon doesn't have the stability, and moon just wants to feel secure, and none of that during Uranus transit.
Well, and your moon is in Libra, correct?
Libra, exactly.
Okay.
30 degrees apart, so it's like in conjunct in a way.
So then is the Saturn, Pluto stuff in Capricorn, is that squaring your moon?
It was big time, and now it's just moving on, So my moon's
okay, that's 5. Good.
Saturn, well, it depends on like the orb degree that you're giving it. For the longest time, just because Saturn and Pluto has been squaring my moon, I'm like, no, the orb for my moon's gonna be smaller because I was so optimistic. I want to be like, it's no longer squaring. Come on now. But I was so in denial, obviously. And no, my moon orb is huge,
Yeah.
So I still feel the Saturnian square and Pluto. But as it's moving toward finding my, you know, my placement, I feel it's, you know, I'm experiencing both. So anyways, we can talk about this all day, but let's talk about why we're here today.
You can't tell we're friends or anything.
Right. So we are here to talk about the top 5 teachers that Elizabeth, well, tell me why you picked the top 5 teachers of the astrology.
That's a really good question. I think, you know, a couple instantly came to mind, and then I had to really think, okay, there's a difference between people that I admire who do teach or who are influencers, and then people who have been studying and teaching astrology for decades that really, really know their stuff. And that I really respect. And everybody on my list, I absolutely adore and respect for different reasons. And they all bring something different to the table.
Absolutely. So let's just give them the 5 lists before we kind of unpack each one. So, okay. Number 1 on your list.
Miss Jessica Lanyadoo.
Oh, right. Oh my God. We both got to meet Jessica at Norwalk. Oh my God, that was for us. I think Elizabeth ran into her first, and then I just came back from something and then ran into her. I'm like, oh my God, who do we have here? And it was Jessica Lanyadoo and Rick Levine.
I know.
I was like, am I having an out-of-body experience? For astrologers, these 2 names, they're rock stars, right? I mean,
they really are.
Has been he's just part of the pantheon of astrologers, you know, with Stephen Forrest and Caroline Casey. They're the Pluto and Leo. Anyways, but we ran into him as well. At the same time, we ran into Jessica Lanyadoo and just completely described the moment for us, Elizabeth.
Well, from my experience, this was absolutely unexpected. One of the reasons, honestly, I even went to Norwalk was because obviously I wanted to go, but Jessica Lanyadoo, I knew was going to be speaking and giving a couple of talks. And she is number 1 on my list for a reason. She is a triple Capricorn. I am a Sun, Mercury, and Neptune in Capricorn.
Resonate. Absolutely.
Yes, we're just Capricorn sisters. And she's just someone even before I met her, I felt like I clicked with really well. Right. And so I was like, I want to go, and I'm going to go to her talks, and I'm going to meet her. I just had this goal. I'm going to meet this, you know, this idol. And sometimes, you know, they say don't meet your heroes because then you get disappointed because you have built them up in your head to be something. And if they're not that, it's disappointing. Well, Jessica did not disappoint. She was talking to Rick Levine after a talk, and I had gotten out of one myself and was walking kind of in the main lobby of the hotel. Right. And she has a very distinct look, and so I immediately
we adore.
It's so unique. It's so individualistic. I love it. Very Uranian. Yes. And wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but at the same time, it was Hogwarts. Everyone was Uranian in some ways, but Jessica is definitely Uranian. You know,
she's very Uranian.
Distinct neons, and I love her moo and the hair.
Yeah, the crazy hair, the red lip, big glasses,
love it.
Yeah, style all her own. So I zeroed in on her right away because she stood out to me. And she was talking with Rick Levine, and I was like, and she was talking to another man as well. And I thought, okay, this might be my only chance to talk to her. Am I a creeper and I just wait for her like to be done? Or do I like go sit down somewhere else and then like kind of watch? And I decided, no, I'm just going to kind of stand behind this person she's talking to and just kind of linger and wait. And she knew, like she saw me, she knew I was waiting.
Right.
And finally this guy stopped talking and I was able to like kind of get in there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure I made a fool out of myself and I was a complete fangirl, but I just
we
told
both
her.
were.
Yeah, I told her how much I loved her and respected her work, and then you came up.
Right. I just came out of another lecture, and then I was like, oh my God, look who's Elizabeth talking to. Like, I'm so sorry. I have to barge in, but you were my way.
Okay.
So that was awesome.
I'm really glad you joined, because I know that you also really, really like her, and she was so gracious.
She was
and
so
just
gracious.
and humble, and took the time to talk with us and with Rick, and it didn't feel, I was worried that it was going to feel like, you know, the student versus the professor kind of dynamic.
Oh no, not at all.
We talked about
hair. We talked about another, I remember, because Jessica immediately recommended one of her favorite teacher, which right now I'm reading her book. It is this Jungian astrologer, Karen Hamaker Zondag.
Yes, she loves that woman.
Yes, and now because my chart's rectified, so in quadrant system, in Placidus, for example, I'm a 12th houser. Right? I know.
Woo! Crazy.
I know, crazy. From Leo rising to like a 12th houser, but that explains everything in so many ways. Anyways, off topic. So back to Karen, so she recommended another teacher, and then it was just so organic, and I felt like that was my commencement to the actual conference, you know, like the meeting of people, the cross-pollinating, and then I feel like after that I sort of become more comfortable in just saying hi people in the elevator, you know.
Yes, because everybody really is so nice and so jazzed to be there and make connections. It's just you really sometimes have to just
start, right?
Yeah, and get out of your own head and just be like, these people are all great. We all love astrology. So
we all love astrology.
Yeah, I had to tell myself, just get over yourself.
Yeah. Get out of your own way, right?
Yes, exactly.
So anyways, and number two,
we are doing, is it Frank?
This has to be in order, right? And then I feel like we attended Frank Clifford's lecture together at NORWAC on solar arc direction. And he was hilarious and yet
oh my God,
eloquent. And so explaining the technique, I pretty much got solar arc direction within that lecture. And of course I did more reading following on with like Noel Till and things like that. But pretty much the segue for me to learn that timing techniques was at NORWAC. And now I constantly look at it. Anyways, so what is your experience with Frank Clifford?
So I absolutely agree. Frank is, first of all, I love that I love his British accent.
Adorable.
He's English, right?
Yes.
And anybody with an English accent, I just kind of follow around and I'm just like, I just could listen to them all day. I love it.
I know. I want to go to London. I think that's upcoming trip for me. Anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Must do. But I agree exactly 100% with what you just said about him being, he delivers his material in a very eloquent way, but he is very funny. And I am very just attracted to and entranced by funny people in general. So
Leo
anyone,
rising, right?
Yes, I have a lot of Sag as well. So
also I think it's some Mercury thing, you know?
You think so?
Yeah, I think Mercury is wit. I always think of like anybody who does improv or who's like quick-witted, like almost the SNL comics, all super mercurial. But Frank has a different, almost British, right? Very classy. He's almost like the Oscar Wilde of astrology.
Yes, I love that. And he gives it, he's also, I think because, you know, he's British, and he also delivers it in a very dry way, which I resonate with. I have a very dry sense of humor as well. So that just completely lit up the material for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is, I could listen to him recite the phone book all day. Because he's so funny.
And I think that's important in teachers, you know, because in the end, all the materials are out there, right? And so many teachers are teaching somewhat all the same things. Like, I feel like all the teachers teach their fundamental course. And of course, from that fundamentals, then you almost have to pick your philosophy in astrology as well, you know? And this is why earlier we probably should talk about this earlier, how Elizabeth and myself have very different approach in terms of astrology. Of course, when people are looking, they just put astrology as an umbrella. But once you dive into it, I feel astrology is as unique as the astrologers themselves, because you choose the philosophy, right? You choose tropical or sidereal time. You choose house systems and why, right? And then you choose your teachers, and then you choose the objects, the celestial bodies that you're gonna work with, you know? So, and after, I have North Node and Gemini, so I want to know everything first before making my, educated decisions that is distilled. So now, of course, I have my own unique approach into astrology, which I do tropical calendar because I believe in the equinoxes. And I actually am Pluto in Scorpio, and I study astrology almost like it's really interesting in astrology, because the modern is actually kind of has been around longer, and now the ancient astrology, this whole thing that just the Project Hindsight and Robert Schmidt, all these translations of the Hellenistic astrology, which I'm super into, is actually my foundation.
Okay, so, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know whole signs first before quadrant house systems like Placidus and Equal. That's later for me. Interceptive house, I'm like, what?
What is that?
Because I'm whole sign from the get-go. And then also prior to Western astrology, I practice Vedic houses first, and then Chinese astrology, and all of them are just clear-cut 12 distinctions. There's no interceptions. There's no, none. So, but now, as I'm progressing in my techniques and learning solar arc, for example, and secondary progressions and everything like that, I apply different house systems for the corresponding, timing techniques, basically. But recently, in my whole sign, I'm still Sun in the first house. But in Placidus, I'm Sun in the 12th. And there's something about Sun in the 12th, especially after Maurice Fernandez introduction to Neptune, and also from Karen Hamaker's Zondag 12th house. I'm like, I'm pretty 12th house, the amount of alone time that I need, the amount of seclusions. People see me as Leo and very out there, but I feel like every 10 minutes of output, I actually need 10 days alone. And that's not even exaggerating, I love it. I love just studying and really getting into my thing. And then sometimes I see people, sometimes.
Occasionally, like, when your battery is fully charged.
Right, exactly, which is rare. I save it for my client work and more astrology talk, and some dates, but everything else is pretty much 12th house accurate. So there's something to that. Anyways, so not to go in a tangent, but tell me about your philosophy in astrology.
You know, I actually have I'm kind of still forming mine. I've been studying since 2012, which feels like a long time, but really isn't. And I still, like, for my introduction to astrology was with Placidus house system. Right. And then just this past year, I kind of got introduced to and started dipping my toes a little bit into whole sign houses. And some of my placements change with whole sign, which I'm kind of like, my question is, like, how do you just pick one that you like better, or what do you go with?
So I started with whole signs because, for example, whenever I see a client, usually they know very little, or they know their sun, moon, risings. And with whole signs, I get to teach in a way, which I love to do. I feel like I just want to be the gateway drug for them to be completely drinking the full Kool-Aid of astrology. You know, I feel like that's my role. Very mercurial, right? It's just you to other things. And I love when I can convert them. Not only, so that's my goal, is not only people, you know, will be getting a lot from their readings, which I recommend if you are doing client work to always record your sessions, because you're giving a layout of the whole map of their life, and that's a lot to digest. And sometimes it hasn't manifest, or they're in denial, or, you know, like, you can listen a little bit at a time. And so to have that valuable insights recorded and revisit at different stages of your life is actually a very interesting practice as well. Where were we? Oh my God, I go in a tangent and I got lost.
Why you use whole sign house system. Right.
So it's simpler because, you know, one sign divine one house. So, and for an entry level astrologer or client, I started there. And then if they come back to me, and then it's like, usually they do. Most of my clients, they have natal chart, and they come to me for, you know, annual progressions, or like solar return chart and things like that. Then I actually look at both. The secondary things that I'm exploring right now, the equal, because philosophically it just makes sense. The angular is kind of laid out that way for me, in terms of the quadrant system. But now I've been studying a lot of materials from people that have been using the Koch house system.
Okay. And I have heard of that, but I'm not super familiar with that one either.
Maurice Fernandez is using the Koch system. And then recently I attended a lecture by Georgia Status. She's also using the Koch house system. So very interesting. Again, 12 houser for me. So I'm only like first house in whole sign house system, which actually for a lot of people, they're like, it's either your Leo rising or sun in the first house. That's kind of like people's immediate call.
Yes. Yeah. Is your sun, whether it's in the 12th or the 1st, is it close to your ascendant?
Yes. Yes.
So that's why you're kind of a fake Leo rising.
I'm a fake Leo rising.
Well, kind of, because people think you're a Leo rising.
People think I'm an extrovert, right?
Yes, and so, yeah, exactly. And so only when they get to know you, they realize that. But at first, you know, that astrological handshake that you give is sun very close to the ascendant, which is kind of you can do the Leo rising, put on that mask if you need to.
Yeah, which I can. But yeah, I feel, anyways, I'm still deciding. Like, I feel that's the thing is, I feel like I don't ever have to decide, because it's just a prism, right? The whole sky is the whole sky. We're just putting a language, you know, as long as you're not confusing the language, I think just stick to the one that works for you.
Okay.
So that's
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyways, so let's move on to third teacher.
Miss Kelly Surtees.
Hi, Kelly. So she is so lovely, right?
Oh, yes. She's so Neptunian, so Piscean.
So sweet. Yeah, you can just experience the sweetness.
She's so sweet.
Right.
Yes. And I don't remember, I think my first introduction to her was at NORWAC. Was it yours too?
No. So I'm a loyal listener and a proud patron of the Astrology podcast. So I have been listening to the Astrology podcast since the Dane Rudhyar episode, because I love I love history, and I always look for like, ooh, who's the older astrologer?
Yes.
There was an episode on Dane Rudhyar, and then following up to that, I start listening to their monthly delineations, which is the monthly horoscope. So shout out to Astrology Podcast, which, by the way, Kelly was also on my first Sunday Shenanigans as top 5 astrology podcast. So,
well, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And you saw the episode. And if you haven't yet, please watch our first episode. Well, Sunday Shenanigans first episode with me and the Cosmic Keys podcast, where we were talking about the top 5 astrology podcasts for astrology.
Yes. Well worth the listen, by the way.
Thank you so much. So yeah, back to Kelly. What's your experience with her teaching?
Well, I went to, when we were at NORWAC, I went to as many of her talks as I could, kind of like Jessica. They have very different energies, but I really resonate with the sweetness and her very wholesome, friendly delivery. I mean, she's very smart and has been studying for, I think, 25, 30-ish years, I want to say.
And I think she's actually one teacher that went from modern astrology to the whole sign house system.
Yes. So, yeah.
So I kind of know her because I studied the Hellenistic astrology and ancient systems. So my experience with her is deeper because of she practiced whole sign house system. So I'm a member of the AYA, which is astrology, Association for Young Astrologers. Do you know about this?
I don't.
You should be a member, because just to be an annual member, it's so reasonable. And with the membership, it comes with a library of lectures and teaching episodes. So, I mean, if you haven't, if you're astrologers and you haven't tapped into free lectures as a member of like bigger astrology community, is something that I recommend. So
yeah, like what are you even doing with your life?
Yeah, and it's like under $75 even. And I think Frank Clifford, Kelly, also Chris, a lot of astrologers. I feel like there's at least 20 to 30 different lectures.
Wow.
That comes with it. It's a deal, right? And then another one of organization, it is ESAR. And ESAR also comes with a media library. So I constantly is just data collectors, right? I mean, to be an astrologer, it's just like insatiable data collecting.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Well, and you're such a Virgo that you're just like, give me all of the data and let me just
all the data, synthesize it, and then like let me reorganize it in a way that makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
That's all I ever want to do in life.
I love it.
So anyways, so yeah, with Kelly, I learned a lot. Like, I think the most recent one of her lecture was with the Astrology University. They also, I'm a huge fan of whatever Tony Howard's doing with Astrology University.
Yes.
Such a big influence in our community by putting together and introducing all these new teacher and cross-pollinating information. So the last summit was, I'm butchering the title, but it's all about courage in astrology. And I felt like it was so amazing. You know, the T-squares, the Mars aspect, and like I'm seeing everything so differently now. And I think it was so timely, especially with Pluto Saturn, you know, combustions impending.
Yeah.
Like we need courage, you know.
Yes, courage, and the stories of transformation. Absolutely. And people who have gone through huge periods of change and transformation, and then how they got through it to the other side.
Yeah. And it's very interesting to see how different astrologers use different techniques to really unravel this. I mean, Demetra George used Pluto.
Yes, she did.
She did. And I remember Maya Angelou came up, her chart came up twice in the whole summit, and that was really fascinating because I feel like Maya Angelou is definitely one of my favorite person just ever.
Yeah, amazing woman.
Writing, her aspirations, what she's doing with her life, and there's a lot of interlap between me and Maya's chart anyway, like, you know, the Jupiter square, and anyways, I learned so much. And I think we were also, well, recently, I was also learning about the whole idea of applying and separating aspects.
Yes, and Kelly gave a great lecture on that in that last summit for Astrology University, which I attended. And she was the first person, speaking of Kelly, she was the first person who kind of introduced me to the whole idea of separating and applying aspects. Because before that, I had no idea what that was.
Well, it's actually more, it is kind of it's an ancient astrology technique. I know Elenbaas talk about this, you know, someone who I know and follow as well, talk about applying and separating a lot. And I have Mars applying to Uranus and squared. This explains everything. You know?
I get it. And it's in Sag too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in fire sign.
Whew.
Sun, Mercury. Everything.
Wow, girl.
Anyways, right. So, and then we have those three that I know of, and then you have two more teachers that I'm not familiar, but there's a reason why I love doing this, is to learn something new as well. And then, so the next two on your list.
Yes. My next astrologer is Kira Sutherland, and she is an Australian astrologer. She's a nutritionist as well, and she's a kind of a
medical astrologer.
Thank you. Yeah, medical astrologer. And I actually went to her lecture at UAC, which is the United Astrology Conference in Chicago, and got to meet her and go to her lecture on, she went through each of the signs, and then the body parts correlated with each sign, and, you know, what different medicines and herbs and foods you should be taking. And I was like, and she's an Aries. She's very Aries, actually. And so I tend to respond really well. Again, Frank Clifford, I believe, is an Aries. And they both deliver in such a dynamic, interesting, entertaining, direct way. And I really grab onto that delivery. And so when Kira did her lecture, I knew I had to do a reading with her. So I actually had my own reading with her last December.
My goodness.
It was awesome. Like, it was recorded. I've watched it a couple times. And again, she's so lovely and so knowledgeable and funny. She and Frank, I believe, are pretty good friends.
Yeah, I think the thread here is we enjoy humor in astrology.
Yes, and just I believe also, because I have a 5th house stellium and I'm a Leo rising, I believe in giving people information in a entertaining and informative manner. Like it doesn't have.
That's how I watch my news. Is Trevor Noah and SNL.
Yes, yeah. And astrology, I think, can be a little bit dry, and even I find sometimes different,
or depressing,
or depressing,
like, right? You know,
and so
like Jungian, you know, which I delve into. It gets really grim, and you know, and then you need to laugh at it.
Yes, and these people, every single person on my list has a really kind of sparky way and unique way of delivering their material and their knowledge, and I really love that because it's easier, I think, for most people to take that in and to digest if it's delivered with a little bit of humor and pizzazz.
Yeah.
Jazz hands! So
I feel the same way. So in so many ways, when people ask me what I do, I'm both. I feel like I'm an irreverent spiritual entertainer.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm also just a full-fledged astrologer as well. Recently, I did a live workshop in Berkeley. And I had the recording of it, and it was different me completely. Like it's completely different. Like your interface with me, I feel like you're almost interfacing with my moon because you're my friend, and even though this is gonna be watched by God knows how many people, but it's just you and I right now, right? And I can be as lunar as possible. But when I give my live lecture, that side of me, I think this is confusing. My sun in the 1st house, that Sun Mercury that's very close to my ascendant, co-presence in the 1st house, I just revel in it. I just step into it. And then I felt like something else, kind of Uranus, you know, that's like, oh, that was Uranus giving a lecture. I was just like, and that was fun. Thank you, you know, because it really, I don't know why, but in the moment, I believe, and I feel like all astrologers believe this, the moment has the potency to reveal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, when it comes to my output, I'm very, you know, I remember of this Marianne Williamson's taught a prayer of surrendering, you know, like here is me, tell me what to do, what to say, and to whom, you know.
Yes.
There, for me, in terms of astrology, I'm just gonna do what delights me, and then I put it out there. And then it's just been like that. That's my only strategy. Is like, what am I doing with my life? I'm just constantly putting myself out there every day, again, and then the next day again. And then all the feedback sort of weave its own thing. And now I have a history school, I have a workshop, I have a channel, I have astrology friends. It's really is, you have to have a dream so you can manifest it. So I feel sometimes Neptune got such a bad rapport because it's delusion and it's dream and it's not here. But I feel, and of course, this is my Jupiter-Neptune conjunction talking, trining my Mercury right now. I feel imaginations and to have highest vision of yourself and the dream of what could be is so important just to pull you forward. And it's such a weird dance because you want to be pulled forward and then surrender on like the step by step of it, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also kind of, if you're having Uranus transit, what else can you do?
Well, right. And I think to add to what you were saying is it is definitely important to have a dream and to have a goal, but also make it very specific, because I kind of liken it to going to a coffee shop. If you go to a coffee shop and you know you want some coffee, but you stand at the counter and they say, you know, what can I get you today? And you're like, coffee. And they're looking at you like, there's so many choices. Do you want a latte? Do you want a cappuccino? Yes. Do you want, my favorite is a caramel macchiato for sure. But like, there's so many options that you have to be super specific so that you get exactly what you want. Otherwise, you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah, I am a big believer, and I always prescribe this to not only my client and my students and my friends, is, I don't know if you've seen the TED Talk or the book. It's by Simon Sinek. It is called Start with the End in Mind.
Ooh, I'm writing that one down. Right. Simon Sinek?
So Sinek, and I will put all the descriptions in the link below as well. So yeah, start with the end in mind. So, and the whole idea is because people live their life kind of disjointed with the end they have in mind. So at the end of their life, they feel like, wait, what happened? What happened to time and everything? Because they're not living their paradigm as immediately as possible. Right? So for me, I wrote in my vision board, and my end in mind is my life is a wellness retreat.
That's amazing! Oh my gosh, I am so excited for that to happen.
I feel in a way it is forming. So, you know, I wasn't planning on this, because my whole idea, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do astrology. And of course, now with the technology and everything, I have been doing readings for people in Australia and in New York, in Indonesia. So in so many ways, I'm no longer bound by location. I can be a digital nomad if I want to be.
I love that phrase.
Something that, and it's actually an actual thing. It's an actual community. And you can, you know, if you can work remotely, which I know sometimes you can, so maybe we should be plotting this too.
Yes.
You can actually, you know, say like you want to be in Mallorca in Spain for like a month. Then you kind of like pretty much meet people online and then kind of network and then create a tribe and then support one another while you're working with internet someplace with beautiful location and beautiful, again, I'm like Uranus trine Jupiter right now, so I'm like, travel, expansions, the citizen of the world. Like,
yes
that vibe is really high. Yeah, definitely, because I'm like, wow, I've been shackled by San Francisco and this, you know, I'm starting to get itchy because I used to live in Europe and I used to travel a lot more. And now I can actually bring astrology with me everywhere I go. And that is, I didn't expect that, but I think that's what's forming for me.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I am looking forward to attending.
Oh yeah, I will recruit.
Yeah, girl.
So anyway, so we talked about Kira.
Yep.
And then
she's number 4. And my 5th person, her name is Heather Roan Robbins. And she is, she actually was my first, well, one of my first astrology teachers, especially here.
Yeah.
Yes. And she's a double Virgo goddess. So shout out to the Virgos out there. And she's a 12th houser as well. She has sun.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, she has at least 3 or 4 planets in the 12th. So I think you would really like her too.
Well, the thing about Virgo rising that you have to remember, it's Leo in the 12th. Right?
Yeah, which is a really interesting place for Leo.
Right. Well, for me, what I do is I shine lights on 12th house topics all day, you know?
Yeah.
In so many ways, I feel like that's Sun Mercury as well. What I'm really doing is just transcontextual thinking. Because say, you know, like, you know, a shaman saying all of this, I can translate that into like a medical thing. And it's all because they're all languages, right? Astrology is not a belief system. It's a language that describes everything in the solar system.
Yes. Yeah, it really is.
It is that holistic. My love of astrology is the language itself. Before I did natal, I actually did more mundane astrology, because before I was an astrologer, I was a sommelier first. And sommelier, in wine, you learn about 2 things. After the grapes, you learn about terroir, which is placement. That's like longitude, latitude, right? And then vintages, which is time, which is transit, which is Jupiter transit. Where's Jupiter? Anyways, that's annual thing, right?
Yes.
And then from wine, I learned about biodynamic principles, Rudolf Steiner, and then I intersect that with the Chinese farmer's lunar almanac. And then so that's my segue into astrology. So that's why I'm not, and I know for most people, they found astrology from astro.com, which is Placidus house system, right? And that's kind of their segue. But again, I came into astrology from like this, like, oh my God.
Kind of a sideways
right, you know, like
entrance.
But at the same time, it made so much sense. I studied mundane astrology first. Who did that? Now that I'm talking, I'm like, no one. Everyone's studied their own chart first, which now I am constantly and always. You know, your own chart will be, astrology is self-referential because the language itself is self-referential, right?
Yes. Yep.
So yeah. Anyways, from your first teacher, from Heather till now, I know you've met so many teachers from your first teacher. How is your approach different than you first studied it?
That's a big question.
What was the foundation that Heather laid for you that's still a strain? Clearly, tropical Placidus.
Yes. Yep. And Heather has a background. She does palmistry and been studying astrology for, I think, close to probably 40 years, I want to say.
Oh, it's long, old school, like Pluto Leo.
Yes. Yeah. And I really respect her work and her experience and her wisdom. And she also got her, I believe, I'm hopefully saying this right, she got ordained, so she and got education also in psychology and counseling, so she could be, and I think that's a common thread also, at least between a couple of my top 5, is I know Jessica Lanyadoo has a very similar approach to astrology. Is not everyone who studies or even teaches has a counseling style, but that is what I want to do with mine, is to do more counseling. And a lot of my favorite people and my teachers were counselors and meet with clients in kind of a counselor patient,
right?
Yes.
Where's Libra
dynamic. Where's Libra? My South Node is in Libra in the 3rd.
Of course, you want to communicate one-on-one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Libra has a little bit, they're the people who a lot of other signs go to for counsel, because they're so good at the other, right?
Well, my moon is in Libra. So even though there's so many things I can do. Well, I am doing so many things with astrology as well. So client work is something that I could never let go, the one-on-one.
Yes.
Because, oh my God, that's when we have fun. We're like, we kind of have a picture, and then usually the client itself will actually give you, here's our manifestation. So it's like we're collecting more data that, you know, Saturn sextile Venus can also be this way, you know, and Saturn square can also be this way. So we're not only, we're just, it's an exchange as well. What client usually don't grasp in the first, in their first session is how much we're also learning from them, you know?
Yes, it's an exchange of energy.
Yeah, and informations as well. So my moon in Libra will always love consultation, but I'm again, I don't know. So now I have an opportunity. I just met another person on this astrology meetup recently who's offering me a monthly column.
What? A monthly column where?
Astrology.com and horoscope.com. So shout out to Nora. So we'll see. I don't know if it's for me, because on one hand now I want to be freer more than ever, but at the same time, I can do monthly. I don't know about weekly. Weekly is too much, you know?
That's a lot. Yeah.
Because I'm doing readings. I'm writing my own, I have to foster my own Instagram, and I'm going to continue doing workshops. What did I do? I basically, I bought myself 6 jobs, you know? I really did. I bought myself 6 jobs when I started this enterprise.
Oh my God.
I'm like, oh my God, when do I actually, you know, to be on social media? And it seems like no one emails me anymore, and everyone just DMs me for consultations and sessions and things like that. I'm like, wow. And it took me months to build that website, but now everyone's just DM me. Okay, that's fine.
Yep, I know. I don't even have my website set up.
You don't need one. Honestly, I feel like I have so much energy to no, you still need one.
I do, yeah.
But I'm just saying that most of my transactions happen on Instagram.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because I feel like that's, you know, you have to meet them where they are, and they're on Instagram.
That is the place to be. Like,
right,
Facebook is out.
Facebook is out. I check it once in a while, but then, you know, it just drops off. It's just too much. And with all and again, I have workshops, I have students, I have clients, I have, you know, dogs, and, you know, I was trying to date, and it's just a lot. So yeah, right now I'm with winter. So I'm kind of like, I'm going to pause a little bit, all the Uranus retrograde as well, and just kind of like, what is my vision for 2020? Am I going to be a digital nomad and actually be in Colorado for ESAR and be in Utah? Like, really actualize that. Is that what I want? Can I pull it off? You know?
Yes. The answer is always yes.
Oh gosh, yay! Oh, we'll see. I'm like excited, scared, and thrilled at the same time, which is, you know, all the feels, right?
Exactly. You can't have one without the other. I feel like they really go hand in hand.
Right. So yeah, I think we have to loop back to all your teachers and how they kind of create a tapestry in so many ways. Well, you weave your tapestry by picking them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I have a very strong Venus and a very strong moon in my chart. So I tend to gravitate more naturally towards feminine energy. Not that I don't, there's some amazing male teachers out there, male astrologers. Like, obviously I love Frank, and Chris Brennan is brilliant. But, you know, people, and I think that's one of the reasons I admire Jessica Lanyadoo so much, is not only is she entertaining and funny and real, but she also, her listening to how she got into astrology and her philosophy on it, I keep going, yes, that's exactly, that resonates with me.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so that, again, that feel like that really validates the connection that I felt even before I met her.
Right. And she used Campanus house system. Have you seen your chart in her?
I have not, actually. I have not. How do I do that?
Well, you know, when you go to astro.com, you know, I like, you know, I'm super Virgo and nerdy. And most likely I will be going back to school at some point, right? I'll probably do CIIS, do Eastern Western Cosmology. I'll probably do my psychology as well, and archetypal and classics. So, you know, by the time I'm 90, I'll probably have like 5 degrees behind me.
Yes, girl! Get it!
I think that's what I want, you know? I'm 35, and most people at this point want to have a family and children. And I want to go to Greece, you know, and visit all these temples of pantheons that I've been studying.
Hell yes.
Egypt, or, you know, that's what I want. So, you know, I guess Uranian I am, so.
You are. Well, and because that's a stronger pull, I think, for you at this moment, that is what is showing up in your life. And that's what's manifesting for you, rather than the kind of traditional family structure.
Right. The white picket fence and everything. I want that too. Do I?
Do
I don't
you?
know.
See, you're going back and forth, and that's totally fine.
Right. Well, I feel, you know, something that I haven't been doing in my life is relationship. Saturn squaring Moon Venus. Let's just put it that way, right? Natally. So Saturn Pluto have been squaring my late degree, you know, Virgo Venus that is conjunct my Moon in Libra for like few years, like 3 years now, given like depending on the orb, right? It's like how much do you want to count the orb? But I have discovered that I know how to be by myself, and I enjoy it very much. I feel, you know, completely Vesta, whole unto oneself, and etc., etc. But I finally felt, I'm like, I think I'm ready for a partnership again. Yeah.
When did you feel that?
I feel the yearning was happening around my birthday when I was like 35, and of course you're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life, you know? And then I had a romance that didn't work out at that time, and then I was just like, scrap men, I'm done. And I was like looking into my aspects, and I'm like, not until like, you know, not until like daylight savings time was kind of like so I'm not gonna date again until like my daylight savings time. And then so I actually organized an event, my first mystery school coven. It was very exciting.
Yay! I was so excited you were doing that. Please do another one, because I would love to come.
Oh my God, yeah, we should talk about it. And then so at the coven, it was, pretty much leading up to the event, I was just working, making slides, making, you know, Virgo, right? Super worky, want everything to be perfect. So just like, you know, like even meeting people is not part of it. And then I knew that once the event wrapped up, that I also will kind of take a little break. And then so when that event wrapped up and I had that break, I was like, wait, what am I supposed to do? Date?
Yep.
So it was basically as immediately as the event was wrapping up, I was like, I want, you know, I want someone special again, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of, that energy kind of re-entered your life and came back in.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see, because, I mean, Pluto and Saturn is trining my ascendant and Venus, you know?
Okay.
So that's the tenure of next year. Oh my God, Pluto Venus is one of my favorite aspects because, you know, I'm Plutonian myself. I need things to be intense and all the way
And deep.
and deep.
Yes. No shallow relationships here.
No. I don't want that. I want like merging. That's like Scorpionic word, right?
Very Scorpionic.
Soulmate, Bonnie and Clyde merging kind of situation. So yeah, we'll see. I'm open.
Well, good. That's what you need to be, is just
it's
open
like
to it.
Sagittarius season, such a statement.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
2020, like looking for astrologer Elizabeth Wolfe.
You know, I have, so I said I have Uranus. I have a lot of outer planet energy. I have Uranus going over
right.
Yeah, my midheaven in Taurus, which is very interesting.
Of the manifestation.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Like, it is so, Uranus is like the planet of astrology.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then Saturn and Pluto. Right now I'm going through a Saturn conjunct my Mercury and my Sun.
Oh, wow.
Which has made for a difficult year in some ways. And I'll be 33 in January. So I've already had my Saturn return, and I've already actually had Pluto go over my Sun during my Saturn return. And I survived. I didn't know if I was going to. Oh my God. So by the way, I looked at a picture. I looked at a picture of myself during that time. So it was during my first Saturn return, while Pluto was also conjunct my Sun. And I was about this big. I was so skinny and just did not look healthy. And so it's a little bit different this time, but Saturn and Pluto will be conjunct. I think it's at 21, 22 degrees of Capricorn.
That's right on my ascendant Virgo. Yeah. Right there.
And it's right past my Sun, which is at 18 Capricorn. Ooh. So it's still very, very close to my Sun Mercury.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We won't know. Like, that's the thing. We won't know anything until the time reveals itself.
Yes. Right? We can only, guess or try and prepare as best we can, right? Yeah. But that's the joke I think that's played on us astrologers, is we can see what's coming, but we don't actually know what's coming, right?
Well, we know the theme. We know, Pluto trine ascendant, Pluto trine Venus, but you don't know the manifestation, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I feel, this is such a trap for astrologers. We forget there's free will sometimes.
Absolutely.
We forget there's free will. And love Jessica Lanyadoo. She's always like, remember free will. I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm like, I'm just a manifestation of all these forces, that I forgot that I still can free will it to however I want it to be.
Yeah, no, the planets, and I think that's also, astrologers forget this, and it's also good to explain to newbies to astrology, is you're never bound, you're never imprisoned by transits or the planets. You get to decide what to do with that energy.
You can embody the archetypal of that. Every planetary forces have the light and shadow. So Saturn's not all dark and Venus is not all sweet,
Nope.
So I think and I love, and this is why I'm teaching astrology, because I feel for a large part, a lot of the astrology teachers that we talked about teach other astrologers, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So for me, I don't teach other astrologers. I have no business doing that while Demetra George is still alive, or I have no business doing that. But my whole yearning is to just to speak this language more. So that's why I'm packaging all of my information to introduce it to my sister who knows nothing of this information, to introduce it to my friend who is, tuning into their cycle, and completely tied into the moon, but just like, if they just know this much more, they'll they'll love astrology. So I'm kind of that bridge. I'm Mercury completely in my aspirations. I just want to bridge the gap to popularize more astrology. And then once you've entered this realm, then you can even ask me. It's like, okay, I love Pluto. Where do I go? And I'll be like, right there, Okay,
Yes.
I love predictive astrology. Where do I go? Or, who is the best on Vedic system and things like that. I'm kind of, in a way, the Rolodex, for the other astrology.
Yes. Well, you're the connector. Like, you connect people to where they need to go.
Yes. I love that. I enjoy it. So.
And you're good at it, especially as a Mercury ruled sign and a, oh my gosh, what is Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign, and why am I forgetting the term? There's
mutable.
Cardinal, you're mutable.
Mm-hmm.
As a mutable sign, all the mutable signs are really good at connecting people and to resources and, just, like you said, being that bridge and that messenger, that's definitely part of your...
Yeah, I like the term of mutable in the ancient language, which is in Greek, it is metakosmio. And meta, as you know, it is in between, like metaphysics, right?
Yes.
But kosmio is world. So mutable, it is metakosmio. We're in between worlds. And I love that's like the legend of Hermes. And that's the communicator. And, and that's also Persephone. And I love all those characteristics. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
I know you do.
Yeah. We can talk about astrology all day. And yeah, I think literally. Because I feel like one of my first astrology conversation that I started sharing with you was the archetypes, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that was a whole new way of I learned a lot from you.
Oh, thank you. And for me, that was my segue because I have an art degree. So I've been looking at all these classical pantheon forever. And then I'm just like, whoop, astrology. I'm like, oh my God, it's like an X-ray visions. It's starting to it's amazing. So guys, I hope this conversation further your love in astrology. Elizabeth, I want to thank you so much for coming up with such great top lists. I resonate, and I'm looking forward to explore 2 more other astrologers here that I haven't really delved into. And I will put a lot of our notes in our descriptions linked below. And Elizabeth, I don't think this will be the last time. I will definitely would love to have you again for other
I would love to
conversations.
Yes, thank you for having me, Nissa.
You're so welcome. And of course, if you're astrologers, we look forward to run into you, and please say hello if you see us at an astrology conference.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next Sunday Shenanigans. And in the meantime, you can also catch up on astrology language on Cosmic Little Lessons. Thank you.